A couple of comments coming through.
Yeah, go
Audrey says, winning is the result of all the hard work and effort that you put in prior to that, which is outstanding. And she's also said, and mindset carries you to the win, sale, or achievement.
Sure does.
Well said.
100%.
I like that. Well done, Audrey. Ken says, Janelle and I gave ourselves a 10 out of 10. We kept going all day. Just one more suburb.
I love it. Good on you, Ken.
We preserved and was that preserved or persevered and won yesterday's grand final celebrations.
Persevered.
Yeah. And John says criticism is constructive, I find, which is really good. And then John says to Ken, well done. Gabby says, my best results have always been when I have a coach. Absolutely, good on you, Gabby. Yep. And Ken says, John, thanks. It's very easy to just give up. It is easy.
Of course it's easy. It's easy. We're wired that way. You know, our brain is wired, our mind is wired to take the easy option and to sit back down, watch the footy today, watch the Netflix, and don't do anything. Don't get yourself out of your comfort zone. It's about safety. Your mind is far happier doing that. And so, it's about challenging yourself, getting out of your comfort zone, doing things that you're not used to, the things that might scare you a little bit, that provide you with some fear, some terror. But here's the thing with comfort zone. Your comfort zone might start off being this big, but then when you do something that sits out here, now your comfort zone starts to become this big, and now it's this big, and it constantly expands.
It's like your rejection this morning.
I got rejected early, but I bounced back.
Yeah, well, you got what you wanted.
I got what I wanted. I didn't give up, mate.
In the right time frame.
Absolutely.
So, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea, you try to get a coffee early at 7:45, and the coffee club here in Sucks Creek doesn't open until 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
So lucky enough that she opened about 7 minutes early. And we're able to, looks like it's the only coffee shop because they're packed already at 8:30. It looks like it's the only coffee shop in the area. But Tony was rejected. He was going to go in again for number 2, but he could see that the girl was kind of, her body language was just suggesting that don't bug me.
Just leave me
alone. And she's running around the centre.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, so absolutely. But the rejection
language.
that was important. But I think... Audrey also says Tony is a great coach. He draws a fine line between pushing you forward and your potential and versus too much pressure.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you.
Really nice.
Yeah,
Tony Gallagher says, yes, up to the individual, yet when a mentor is delivering, they need to consider how much delivery and their sensory
acuity. I love
important.
It.
I know, I've spoken to Tony about different things different times, and sometimes he'll go to me, you know what, hold back, Luke. And, I think there was probably a drink in mind at the time, so that brutal essence of what I am.
Was probably elevated, was a higher level than normal.
Yeah, it elevates a little bit, gotcha. So apologies, Tony. Yeah. But I think that's what we can understand about ourselves. You know, how much we go and having a realization after we're doing some things. I know as a coach, Tony, you would be, reflecting on some of the things that you do and see how you can approach things even better next time.
100%. Every coaching session is a learning opportunity. I'm by far, not a perfect coach. And so for me, it's constant improvement. It's those 2 magic questions. Honestly, it's those questions. I apply them to everything. I learnt those questions many, many years ago when I used to do sales calls with my team. And we'd come back, we'd go and visit our client or customer, we'd come back into the car at the end of the call and we'd have a notebook out and I'd say what went well and what could you do differently. And that's how I got those questions. And then as I studied personal development, got into NLP and whatnot, hang on a second, those 2 questions apply to everything. They apply to this live video. We could finish this live video and as we drive away, it's like, okay, what went well? What could I do different? You go and meet a boy or a girl, you have a conversation. What went well? What could I do different? You go and do a sales call. What went well? What could I do different? Everything. This applies to absolutely everything. And it boils down to...
simple.
Self-awareness. It's self-awareness. When you understand yourself, when you are truthful with yourself, then you have half a chance of succeeding. The reason why you have half a chance is because there's another element, which is the action, right? So you can be aware of something, but if you choose not to do anything with it, then there's no point, right? So it's, hey, I'm aware that I have a shortcoming in blah, 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 blah. Now I'm going to, how do I address that? What can I do? I even want to address it? Maybe I don't even want, maybe I go, I couldn't care less. I'm happy to be a rude ass or whatever it might be. but it's at least I'm aware, and then I have the choice.
Couple of things, Tony. Love you too as well. Good on you. You talked about, it was my comment earlier about me pushing too hard. But I also want to talk about, you said about being easy and not considering to get up and do things, whether it be a live video, whether it be that sales call, whether it be organising to go to the meeting, or just getting up on a Monday morning for work. This morning, I've got quite a tight glute at the moment. I think I sat the wrong way last night, or something happened there. And I had that, I don't know how quickly I was going to go, or whether I was actually going to complete the 7K run, or I might have to break it up in two. But it was about making that effort and pushing through. I know it was kind of like not a sort of chronic pain or anything like that. It was just the way I kind of sat last night.
A bit tight.
And it's a little bit tight. So, it's just that push through. What I also would say about self-awareness, I saw a video this morning from Gary Vee, Matthew McConaughey, who talked about stopping all the romantic comedies. He was offered $8 million to do a movie. And he said, no, I'm not interested, I'm not doing it. They upped it to another 6 months later, they upped it to $10 million. They went up to $12.5 million, then went to $14.5 million.
Wow.
He goes, bring me the script, I'll check it again. And then his self-awareness was about, no, I don't want to do this anymore. He went 20 months without working on a movie.
Wow.
Right? And then he was considering, do I need to then change careers? Do I need to do something different?
You're right.
He just changed it up. It's very powerful. I actually put it on my post, so go and have a look at it. That is self-awareness, and it's never about the money.
Correct. I
You
love it.
Following, your true happiness, your true path, really, away from happiness, but your true path and what you want to do. Matthew McConaughey didn't have a love anymore for doing those romantic comedies. Wanted to switch it up and finding something more meaningful for him.
Well, ultimately it is happiness, right? It is about chasing our own happiness, and there's a lot of people who go around this world and they're not happy. Speaking of not happy, mate, somehow I've lost that email you sent me. I don't know. I'm sitting, so if I'm looking a little bit distracted, Lucas sent me an email, which is the script of what we're going to talk about. Mate, I have no clue.
No problem.
I have no clue.
We'll go well anyway.
So clearly our preparation this morning for 15 seconds.
Well, that's why I got to talk so much, because Tony was doing it. Kelly says, learning so much about working in a team with her hubby, which is great. Good on you, Sean. Even though we've been married for 10 years on Tuesday and 17 years together, always plenty to learn. Communication is key.
Oh, is this Sean's wife?
Yeah,
Is it?
Kelly.
Oh, terrific. Oh,
Yeah.
Kelly, that's awesome. And 10 years, well, congratulations to the pair of you. Hopefully you've got a lovely surprise plan. Look, communication, we talk about
What
it.
if he doesn't have a surprise plan? Now
Well,
you've stitched him up.
No, well, he's got 2 days. He's got 2 days. So, Sean, it's about taking action now.
I don't know if
Between
he's
now-
actually
now-
on. I think
now-
just Kelly's on today.
No,
so.
but he's a good viewer of us, so it'll be interesting, won't it? He's got 2 days to get it sorted. Sean, Kelly, let us know on Tuesday how we got on.
I think the second point was around pressure, actually.
Correct, it was.
Getting back to the grand final, Zen, Isat, good to have you on as well. We've got Audrey has come on and said, you're good enough to wing it, Tony. Yeah, well, no, I don't know, because I do send him all the notes. He doesn't really read it before we come on, but we don't actually need to read these notes. What we talk about is within us. I often come up with these notes or the dot points.
He does.
And if anyone wants to scribe them down on the comments, you can do that. So just copy and paste from the post, and that might help us as well. So
But number 2 is pressure. We know number 2.
We know
number 3, actually. Just go to number 3 if you want to just copy that, because number 2 is pressure.
Okay.
Number 3.
So we've got to think about ourselves in grand final. Like going on to do a Facebook Live, especially some of the early ones for both of us, it was a lot of pressure.
Correct.
There's a lot of potential people judgments and opinions and hatred that might come. And sometimes it still sort of comes in at different times about what we do and what we say out there. It can be highly criticised, which isn't, and this comes to then even accentuated levels when it comes to grand finals, because this is it. I know on the TV last night they actually said it doesn't matter about whether you actually. It matters if you win at the grand final. No one cares about the second place. You may as well come 16th.
Yeah, there's no tomorrow, right? There's no tomorrow. So for the guys, playing rugby league tonight, Melbourne and Penrith, there's no tomorrow. So you put it all out on the field. But the thing around pressure is that you need to put yourself into pressurising situations. So these top teams, and not just in this sport, in every sport, they practice certain things. They'll talk about 60 seconds to go, we're down by 2. What's that move? They look at and American football is a classic at this. For those who follow the NFL, they have every single scenario scripted out, and they rehearse it and they rehearse it and they rehearse it. So how you deal with pressure is you put yourself in a position to try things. Like Luke said, back when we were first doing Facebook Lives, etc., a long time ago, and my first video is still there, Luke's is all still there for everybody to see. For me, it was all around the meaning that I was placing on myself and the live. It's like, oh my gosh, people are going to comment, they're going to judge, they're going to whatever. 3 or 4 years later, you couldn't care less about that stuff. But I mean, it's just a case of that's what I had to go through, and how I did it is really simple. Is I just kept doing it. Right, I just kept doing it. So that doesn't have to apply for Facebook Live. It could be about growing sales in your business. It could be about pick up the call and make that call. A lot of people have issues with that. I did some funny videos on the property group just recently around procrastinating and about challenging people. Just pick the damn phone up, right? And it's going to feel yucky. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to say the wrong thing. I'll guarantee you of that. So the moment that you can accept that, then life becomes a whole lot lighter.
I guess putting time guides on yourself. I'm going to make calls at that time.
Yeah, correct.
I'm going to do a Facebook Live at 8 a.m.
Yep.
Brisbane time,
Yep.
9 a.m. Sydney and Melbourne time.
Sure, that's the right time.
Yeah, I got the post wrong earlier.
But that's the thing, right? And so
making mistakes all the time, the time.
But that's what I say to my clients, is you have to allocate the time. And again, for those who've worked with me, we talk about allocating the time. But here's the thing with that. Because it's a meeting with ourselves, what we tend to do is we tend to go, nah, it's a meeting with myself. I'll deal with that later. What you're saying by doing that, you mightn't be saying it overtly, but you're certainly saying it subconsciously, is I'm not that important. I'm not worth it, right? Whereas when you have a meeting with someone else, it might be with your employer, it might be with we do this 8 o'clock every Queensland time every Sunday. You commit, you go, because there's someone else there, there's accountability. It might be you're going to go and do some personal training, you're going to go and meet your accountability buddy at 6:30, your alarm goes off, you're up and you're into it. But when we have a meeting by ourselves, what we tend to do is we go, no, I'll deal with that later. And that's the absolute opposite of what we should be doing. We should be putting ourselves first, always, personal priority. When you hop on a plane and they talk about the mask fall from the ceiling above, you put your own mask on first. You don't put it on your family, you don't put it on your wife, your kids, you put your own mask on first, and this is the same. It's called personal priority.
That's what it's all about. Kelly says, I'm sure he'll sort out something. Thanks, guys, for the anniversary. We look forward to that. Maybe a photo. Maybe let us know. Brett Duncan, good to have you on as well. Audrey's all smiles, which is great as well. We're trying to remember the third comment around that, Tony.
But it's keep going with pressure, mate, and I'll have a look on Facebook for us.
Look, the big thing on pressure. Think about the grand final, like the AFL grand final last night, and the best of the best came through. What they have, there's probably something within our DNAs. I know that. Gary Vee talks about it a lot, is as an entrepreneur, it's got to be within your DNA, and it goes back to that self-awareness of it.
Correct.
Who are the best of the best? Do you have the ability, and then are you willing to put in the hard work on it? And then when you're in pressure situations, you rise to the challenge. It actually made me think this morning about grand finals that I've played in. And I know that in cricket, it reminded me about taking 3 wickets at one stage.
Yep.
During the game. So I was, successful, but I think when it came down to the last wicket, there was that little bit more pressure.
Of course.
And then we, brought on someone else and then took the last wicket and we won by 2 runs.
Yeah.
So that was, it was huge. So bits and pieces during the game, I did well. Others, someone else came on to finish the deal.
Yeah,
as well.
so dealing with pressure is the difference. And so if I go back to last week, the mighty Brisbane Lions, a couple of weeks ago they beat Richmond. Richmond won the grand final last night. 3 weeks ago the Lions beat them. In fact, played out of their skin. They were phenomenal. It was a real thrill for me and my family to be there. 2 weeks ago, last week the Lions played Geelong and were dreadful. They were dreadful and pressure got to them. The occasion got to them. There was a lot riding on Brisbane, given the one and only grand final. It's outside of the MCG. A lot riding on Brisbane, additional pressure, and they cracked. And that's the thing. It's like pressure is the difference. At that elite level, you are an amazing footballer to be able to play, whether it be in first grade of NRL, first grade of AFL, doesn't really matter. You're an amazing footballer, right? But it's the pressure that's the difference. On a training paddock, they'll be slotting goals from everywhere, scoring tries, doing all those sorts of things, but come a weekend, a crowd in the stadium, or even if there's no crowd, there's pressure on the game, there's pressure on the result, and that pressure affects people, and some people rise to it, and some people don't. And they talk about the very best in the game, in their positions. Everything seems to slow down for them. Why?
Yeah.
Because they deal with pressure. You look at some of the great halfbacks, the Andrew Johns, the Jonathan Thurstons, etc. They deal with pressure so much better than others who get the ball, panic a bit, try and offload it, they kick it or they pass or whatever. Those guys...
How do you put that analogy back into the workplace? Like for you as a coach, or for me in property, or for Ken in ice creams, or for Kelly in property development,
Sure.
or others that are doing whatever they might be doing.
Yep.
How do you bring that analogy there?
Well, if you've got your own business, the single biggest pressure that you have being your own boss is sales. Let's not BS that, right? It's sales. If you don't get sales in the front door, you don't have a business, quite frankly. And so there's enormous pressure to do that. And so that's what I teach people around. You don't want to have a pressurised situation all the time. You want to create a system of more predictable, sustainable sales for a longer term. But there's pressure of sales. If you're an employee, there's pressure from your boss. There's expectations. There's KPIs. There's all those types of things. There's pressure everywhere, right? But here's how you better deal with pressure. You put yourself in the situation. You don't sit back in a comfortable, safe spot. That's not teaching you how to deal with pressure.
So you just say yes to things.
You say yes.
Yes to yourself and yes to others.
Yes, absolutely.
In various ideas. Like I was approached this week to do a Facebook Live with Cheryl, and straight away, yes, yes. Creating more value, putting myself out there more. And all these things that, it's 8 o'clock at night, and it was a late one, and I hadn't had dinner, and all these things. But even those last minute things that I've been taught, I was, on a Sunday, I got approached to do a video with a group of people that are in Melbourne, and it was quite interesting actually. It was an Asian women's group.
Okay.
And very different and something outside the norm of what I deal with, but. Just pumped with the energy to talk to them and to give value to them. Extraordinary. And it's just about me saying yes. So if anyone wants to pressure gets Tony and I to do anything, it's probably going to be yes.
100%, it will be. But for you, you love to give, you love to add value, same as me. That's why I've done 71 of these things.
72 actually.
72, well there you go, 72.
Yeah.
So, good year, that, 72. Just giving away my age for everyone out there. But anyway, but it's about putting yourself in a pressurised situation, trying things that are outside of your comfort zone. Again, what's that something that will stretch you, that will grow you? That's where the magic truly happens, as opposed to sitting.
That's why we do these videos just outside the coffee club, so everyone can actually hear us and get entertained at the same time. So, and we actually putting ourselves out there.